I don't understand why we're just doing this read where it's like, no, he seemed like perfectly normal guy who loved Ukraine a lot. Like, how the did none of the journalists, how did none of the journalists that were in contact with this guy go, yeah, this dude was a nutcase, bro?
Sources say Secret Service fired 4 to 6 rounds as Trump was rushed to a safe area. The suspected gunman went running, leaving behind an AK-47 style rifle, 2 backpacks which contain ceramic tile, and a GoPro hanging on the fence. An eyewitness catching the suspect fleeing.
Fortunately, we were able to locate a witness that came to us and said, hey, I saw the guy running out of the bushes. He jumped into a black Nissan, and I took a picture of the vehicle and the tag,
Snitch.
Which was great.
With that information, police were able to track down the car. This is the moment authorities surrounded the suspect in the vehicle.
We knew we had the car, everything lined up. We surrounded the car, didn't give him a chance to flee. He had no alternative but to surrender.
Multiple law enforcement sources tell ABC News the man detained by police is 58-year-old Ryan Wesley Roth. Overnight, law enforcement descending on his home in Greensboro, North Carolina, going through the residence floor by floor, searching by a flashlight. Sources also say he had ties to Hawaii, his neighbor there speaking with ABC News.
I kind of like a shock that all of this is happening.
While authorities are working to determine a motive, sources familiar with the investigation say they are looking into whether Roth had any frustrations with Trump's position on Ukraine. He frequently posted on social media about the war, seen here in a 2022 video in Poland around the time he went to Ukraine.
And that we're going to stay as long as it takes to get every Russian out of Ukraine.
Trump traveled back to his Mar-a-Lago estate in a social media post thanking law enforcement for keeping him safe, saying the job done was absolutely outstanding. His son Eric Trump telling Fox News, "My father is running out of lives."
He's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it.
By the way, this guy is not Secret Service. He's the sheriff. So I don't know why he said this, because the Secret Service was like, no, dog, like he has like the highest level of priority. And the Republicans ran with that. The Republicans basically ran with that and have been crying about the Secret Service, like facilitating in the likely assassination of the next president, the current president, and the former president, Donald Trump. All three are the same guy. I just, I find it very strange.
The security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
So there's a heavy police presence here outside of.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. When I looked at his, when we first looked at this dude's social media, Ryan Ruth's social media, I usually believe that the easier to understand narrative, like the simpler narrative, is probably the truth. But this guy's footprint, dude, this guy's footprint is so nutty. Like if he was like the intent probably won't be super hard to prove for a guy like this, because he was literally putting his goddamn phone number online. So if you're putting your phone number and your email online when you're adding Zelensky, I'm sure you've said some unhinged in your private correspondence where you can like immediately figure out the intent. And here's the already required FBI radar. FBI's suspect was subject to 2019 tip. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has said that the suspect was the subject of a tip to the agency in 2019 revolving around his possession of firearms. It was alleged that he was a felon in possession of a firearm, Special Agent Jeffrey Veltri said. Following up on the tip, the alleged complainant was interviewed and did not verify. I repeat, did not verify providing the initial information. The FBI passed on that information to local law enforcement in Honolulu. I mean, this guy was so on the radar that like he was the radar, brother. I mean, he literally was in Ukraine. He was in Ukraine. He was actively trying to work with the Ukrainian Foreign Legion. Like there is 0% chance that there was never a CIA operative that talked to this guy. Like there's 0% chance. He was trying to recruit Afghan security forces that were NATO trained to go and fight in Ukraine, okay? Like it is virtually impossible for the CIA to have not ever talked to this man. This guy wasn't on just one radar. I think this guy was on every radar.
Take 2 steps to your right. Come back. Driver, walk straight back.
Keep walking!
Dude, it's crazy how chill they are with this dude. I swear to God, white supremacy is so goddamn powerful, brother. That's crazy. Like, he's compliant. Think about it. This guy tried to, in their minds at this point, tried to assassinate a former president. You have no idea if he has a gun in the car or not. He he ditched his gun when he ran away, but you don't know if he has guns or not. I've seen random black people for random black people stealing a Kia get like worse treatment overall from the cops. Like they did worse to Tyreek Hill, bro. It's the same state. That's crazy.
Kaylee, Ryan Ruth walked into that federal courtroom this morning smiling, shackled by his hands and feet. He was even seen laughing while speaking to his court-appointed attorney. Now, the judge presented two different charges: possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and a possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. Combined, the judge says he could face 20 years in prison and $500,000 in fines. Fox is told additional federal charges are possible, but we understand that these charges presented today will keep him in jail. Now, Ruth told the judge that he only makes about $3,000 a month with no assets other than 2 trucks in Hawaii. The sheriff said yesterday when Ruth was arrested, his demeanor was perplexing. And that continued today in the courtroom when he was smiling and laughing.
Made the stop and then at gunpoint ordered him out of the vehicle. He complied. His demeanor was perplexing in some way, despite the fact that we had numerous people out with rifles, uniformed personnel, a helicopter.
And we are just getting our hands on the affidavit, and a couple of things stood out to me. It said he was driving a car with stolen plates. Of course, he fled the scene, and officers were able to pull him over and arrest him on I-95. And then also, Ruth's mobile phone was detected in the area at 2 a.m., so the night before this happened, until 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. Now, Ruth is being held in the Palm Beach County Jail, and he is expected in court for his next appearance on Monday, September 23rd.
Dana Marie, thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host Harris Faulkner and
new details emerged. Ryan Wesley, confirmed suspect in the second assassination attempt of former President Trump, who is now in custody after Florida deputies caught his vehicle fleeing the scene. Our next guest is the sheriff of Martin County, Florida, where the suspect was taken into custody. And Sheriff Snyder joins us now. Sheriff, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Y'all did a great job yesterday. So proud of the work of law enforcement there, working with both counties together and with the Secret Service. Tell us about this suspect. When he was arrested, when he was pulled out of his car, did he say anything? What was his demeanor?
Well, we conducted what you have seen probably 1,000 times, a high-profile felony stop out on I-95 northbound. We already shut the interstate down behind him. Made the stop.
Dude, okay. Now I'm convinced they do not have a single sober sheriff in the state of Florida. I think it's illegal to be a sheriff and sober at the same time. What, bro? Every sheriff. Why is every sheriff like this in the state of Florida, bro? What the hell's going on, dog? I don't know. He did. Hey, man. Hey, we stopped him. He was riding around town, thought it was crazy.
And then at gunpoint, ordered him out of the vehicle. He complied. His demeanor was perplexing in some way, despite the fact that we had numerous people out with rifles, uniformed personnel, a helicopter, interstate shutdown. He was as calm as if he was going to a Sunday picnic.
He looks like it in that picture. I know that you were there when Secret Service interviewed him. What was his demeanor there? Did he apologize? Did he say he was remorseful? Did he even speak?
No, he was quiet, and we had to be very respectful. It's a federal investigation, so we don't cross the lines. Our job was to apprehend the suspect. I mean, after all, he just tried to assassinate the highest profile target on the planet. It was extremely fortunate for all of us that he complied, because had he not complied, you'd be asking me right now, what were the circumstances of his death?
Right. Gosh, I'm thankful that's not the case this morning. Where is the suspect now? I know he's behind bars, but where?
Well, what we did is we turned him over to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. So I don't know where he is right now.
Okay. Did he say any? How did he know that Donald Trump was going to be playing golf? How did he have access to his schedule?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. You know, we are the border county to Palm Beach. You can't get out of their county without coming through ours. But we don't have the intel from the.
Yeah, how did he know that Donald Trump would be golfing on a Sunday in the midst of a campaign? How did he know? Who could have foreseen that?
Scene there. It's hard for me to imagine how he got within rifle range of President Trump.
Yeah. Sheriff, what was your day like yesterday? I know you were all over the media. We appreciate y'all being so transparent with us. But when you heard the news, describe that for us.
Well, I'd gotten home from church and I was having a quick snack, and I heard the bolo to be on the lookout for someone who had just attempted an assassination attempt on President Trump. And as I was sitting there with that snack, I knew he's heading from Martin County. My snack is done. I started getting ready, and within a few minutes of that bolo, my crew was on top of that car and conducted the felony stop.
So great that a witness there at the golf course took a picture of the vehicle and the license plate, told the police department. They notified your county because they knew he was heading in that direction. What's your message to that witness?
Well, my message to that witness is thank you. God bless you for what you did. You stepped up and you made it possible for us to apprehend the suspect, because in all truth, had we not gotten that description, he'd have just sailed right through my county, and who knows if or when we ever would have gotten our hands on it.
You know, we have so much confidence in law enforcement down in Florida. I know the governor there supports you all, and we all support you all. Thank you so much for your work. Have you talked to the governor? I know he wants to do a separate investigation.
I spoke to the governor's representative, who is the director of Department of Transportation. They're in charge of the Florida Highway Patrol, and he told me that from the governor, we could have any asset we needed. And actually, we had created quite a nightmare out there. We had to shut northbound, southbound I-95. We had to wait for a bomb dog to come and make sure there was no explosives in the car. It was a complex scene. We made it come out right, and we were able to turn the suspect over, but it was not an easy scene, I could tell you that.
Yeah, but when I heard that the suspect got away, left the gun there, and took off in this black Nissan, and then I heard not too long after that y'all had gotten him, that I-95 was shut down. I heard that Palm Beach International Airport was closed. So y'all did a great job. Thank you for apprehending him, and now we can hopefully get some answers.
Yeah, hopefully we can keep President Trump safe. That's what we need.
Thank you, Sheriff. God bless.
You're welcome. Thank you. Same.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube.
We want to update our viewers here with what happened in Florida. We begin this hour with the latest on the possible second assassination attempt on former President Trump. A man is in custody after the Secret Service spotted someone with an AK-style weapon yesterday at Trump's golf course in West Palm Beach. It happened between the 5th and 6th holes, and Trump was around 300 to 500 yards away. Officials say they found a gun, a scope, and a GoPro, among other things, after a Secret Service agent fired multiple shots at the man, forcing him to flee. Later, sheriff's deputies made an arrest about 50 miles away.
And here he is. This is the suspect, Ryan Wesley Ruth, who's in his late 50s. He spent time as a volunteer in Ukraine after the Russian invasion. And our Holly Williams was in touch with him when he was overseas, and she joins us now. Holly, good morning. What else can you tell us about this man?
Hey there, Nate. Look, when I woke up this morning in London to the news that Ryan Ruth was the suspect in an alleged assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump, I was stunned to recognize the name, because I had been in touch with Ryan Ruth for over a year in the early stages of the war in Ukraine. Like thousands of other international volunteers, he apparently went to Ukraine to help. I do not believe he was fighting himself, but he had put signs up in Kyiv, Ukraine's capital, offering to help other foreigners find places in Ukraine Ukrainian battalions. And that's how I initially came across him. I spoke with him, I think, once on the phone and texted frequently, and he put me in touch with several foreign fighters. Now, he seemed very genuine and passionate about supporting Ukraine. He mentioned plans to bring in thousands of Afghan and Syrian fighters, which I took, frankly, with a grain of salt. In an interview with the news website Semaphore, he claimed he'd been unable to get visas for those Afghan fighters, but we don't know if he was actually in touch with any Ukrainian officials at all. Now, I've met American volunteers everywhere from Syria to Ukraine. Some are experienced soldiers and very clear about the dangers they're facing. Others seem less well informed and their motivations can be quite confused. To be honest, Ryan Ruth did at times seem fairly naive. At one point, he sent me an audio track of a song he'd apparently recorded about the carnage caused by the war in Ukraine.
Leak it, leak it, leak it, leak it, leak it. If you don't leak it, oh my God, I need to hear the song. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. We have to, this is public knowledge. Like, this is in the interest. This is in the interest of the public. We must hear it. This is the one that I suspect he also, like, tried to get the Dave Matthews Band to also sing. Dude, this guy is, what a character. Holy sh. This is literally like such a uniquely American crank. Like, oh my God.
Ukraine. In November of last year, he told me he was back in the US, in Hawaii, and that was the last time I heard from him. Christine.
All right, Holly, interesting points there. Thank you for that information.
Go to Dana Marie McNichol. She is live from West Palm Beach. Good morning.
Good morning, Dana. As this active investigation continues here outside Trump International Golf Course, we're learning more about Ryan Routh, who has an extensive presence on social media, posting multiple times about the former president. According to public records, 58-year-old Routh had at least 100 run-ins with police, according to Fox Digital. He made his opinions very clear on X, where he posted about former President Trump, the war on Ukraine, the 2020 election, and other world events. His account even weighed in on the former President Trump's assassination attempt back in July, calling on Vice President Kamala Harris to visit those injured at the Pennsylvania Trump rally, saying, quote, Trump will never do anything for them. And
he is the guy that I thought was not a real guy. Turns out there is one of them out there. You know what I mean? He's just like it blows my mind. Like, we have talked so much about how there is no real like NATO voter. There is no real like AUKUS voter. Like, there is one. This is the guy. And what's really ironic about it, and a chatter already pointed this out, is that despite being the NATO voter, he was still potentially going to vote for Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy. Like, he literally, bro, the one NATO voter who hated Donald Trump, voted for Donald Trump, lifelong Republican, becomes a Bernie bro for a brief moment in 2020, Tulsi Gabbard fan, starts hating Tulsi Gabbard, thinks Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy are going to do a better job than Donald Trump, and is like thinking about potentially voting for them. You can't make it up. It's just, he is the guy. Like, Biden was trying to desperately win that guy's vote, and he still was like, you know who I want to vote for? Vivek Ramaswamy and Nikki Haley. Which is funny because Vivek Ramaswamy was like super pro-Russia, but he was also extremely anti-China. Does he follow you? No. Chat, come on. This man's Reddit. First of all, this man is on Reddit. Secondly, he's known in like the NATO circles. And last but not least, he is vehemently anti-communist Russia and anti-China. Do you think that's the type of guy that would be a fan of mine? Are you insane? That's the type of guy who puts me on the list next. He's incredible. He's incredible. His truck home had a Biden-Harris sticker on it. Oh no, he is like, I think everything that I just told you about his like political attitude is 100% correct. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think he inevitably like landed on being reluctantly pro-Biden almost. Like, he's fascinating. I think he is the guy that you see on like those CNN focus groups. You know what I mean? Like, he is that undecided guy that is so truly unique that it almost is a disservice when CNN brings them forward and they're like, so what do you think about the last night's speeches? And it's like, you'll be like, why is this person even remotely relevant in the political conversation? Like, there's not another person like this. That's him. I think he made his decision on Trump. No, he was definitely anti-Trump, but he did originally vote for Trump, which goes back to what I was talking about. I think like when he first originally voted for Trump, he probably considered Trump to be like less militant and more of a peaceful dove than like the establishment, right? Because he voted for him in 2016. It's another former Trump voter, lifelong registered Republican. So a dumbass. I mean, yeah, of course, but many Americans are like this, not to the same severity as this guy. I do find it really funny that like up until the very last moment, he was still like potentially angling to vote for a Republican, despite the fact that Joe Biden was basically communicating direct messages to this man's brain.
Quote. Now, Routh currently lives in Hawaii after spending the majority of his life in North Carolina, where he worked in construction, including owning a company called United Roofing. The Palm Beach County Sheriff said this morning they're looking into his flight schedule and how he even traveled to get here in Florida. Right now, they say Routh is not talking to law enforcement. Now, a witness saw Routh run from the golf course bushes and jump into a black Nissan yesterday. He was then pulled over on I-95 in Martin County.
Also, I do think it's kind of crazy that he's like this much of a crank, but has the wherewithal to not talk to law enforcement, which is kind of crazy. I don't know.
Made the stop and then at gunpoint ordered him out of the vehicle. He complied. His demeanor was perplexing in some way, despite the fact that we had numerous people out with rifles, uniformed personnel, a helicopter.
And no charges have been filed just yet, but we do expect that's the next step. We're also looking for details about when he could possibly be in court. Now, we are hearing this morning that the active director of the Secret Service is here on the ground at the golf course and should be doing a walkthrough of the site shortly. Mel and Dana.
Dana Marie McNichol, thank you.
I'm Steve. Then the title of his book is Ukraine's Unwinnable War, Fatal Democracy, World Abandonment of Global Citizen, Taiwan, Afghanistan, North Korea, and End of Humanity. Yeah, he apparently asked Iran to assassinate Donald Trump in his book. It's just weird to me because it's like, it's right there. This guy's footprint is so Fed adjacent, and he absolutely, without a shred of doubt, has probably, given his like exploits in Ukraine, linked up with an agent at a certain point. So it's honestly shocking to me that the right wing has not been faster to be like, this is a deep state assassination plot. He's not talking to the police. He's gone nonverbal.
As I mentioned earlier, Ryan Wesley Routh had expressed support for Ukraine. He did that in dozens of posts on X. He traveled to the country. And in a newly surfaced video from 2022, he went so far as saying he was willing to die in the war there. Take a listen.
Putin is a terrorist, and he needs to be ended. So we need everybody from around the globe to stop what they're doing and come here now and support the Ukrainians to end this war.
Last October, Routh began trying to enlist Afghan conscripts to fight in the war using social media, presenting himself as an off-the-books liaison for the Ukrainian government. Newsweek Romanian journalist Remes Cherna met the man who'd been detained in connection with this apparent assassination attempt in Ukraine, actually met him on several occasions, stayed in touch with him, and told CNN he was surprised by Ryan Routh's alleged involvement in this incident. Saying, for me, it's a surprise because I viewed him as an idealistic, innocent, genuine person without any murderous instinct. And that journalist joined.
Bro didn't see his tweets about what he wanted to do to Moscow. He's like, yeah, I thought he was like an idealistic humanist. Yeah, he was, you know how like there's progressives except Palestine? Bro was progressive except Russian civilians. Like, we looked at his tweets. He was literally adding Elon Musk to be like, give me a nuke. Give me a nuclear warhead.
Joining me now via Skype from Bucharest. I think we were all struck by that observation. Walk us through a little bit more. The person who you met and then ultimately stayed in touch with, what was your impression?
I met him in my first day in Kyiv in June 2022. I've been there for 15 times since. He seemed to me to be an idealistic person, a genuine person who wanted to support Ukraine, and this is a good cause, of course. But, you know, sometimes we can see this in history and in many other cases. sometimes an idealistic person can become a fanatic.
There's something really funny about this because the guy who they're talking to right now interviewed this man, the suspect, and in that interview, Ryan had his hair dyed in the Ukrainian flag colors. For him to just be like, I did not read him as weird guy, but good guy, is like, come on, man. You can agree with like Ukrainian emancipation and still be like, yeah, he was a bit of a weirdo. Like, I don't understand why we're just doing this read where it's like, no, he seemed like perfectly normal guy who loved Ukraine a lot. Like, how did none of the journalists that were in contact with this guy go, yeah, this dude was a nutcase, bro? Like, how? He was. What?
I saw that he was open to do some, let's say, not so legal things. You mentioned a few minutes ago his attempts to, he's trying to get some people from...
Like, for all anyone's criticisms might be of the way that they operate in Ukraine, like, they saw him and were like, no, dog, you can't have a weapon, okay? Because they recognized this dude is mentally unwell. So why are like Western or Western adjacent journalists being like, nah, he was like a totally normal dude? Like, there's obviously a reason where the Foreign Legion, which is desperate for bodies, looked at this man and was like, you cannot be trusted with a weapon. Okay, you obviously cannot be trusted with a weapon, dude. They straight up was like, yeah, nah, dog, we're good. I think, no, we're good. In 2022, they probably had enough people. No, they didn't. No, they were still looking for help. Like the bar for refusing someone's like help in this situation is, you know, refusing someone's help. You got to be really, really. Like, you got to be putting out the weirdest vibes, okay? There was a Ukrainian chatter in the chat who was like, I'm Ukrainian and this guy cares about Ukraine more than I do. Like, he was a little bit out there, to say the least, okay?
Other countries to join to the Foreign Legion in Ukraine, but in doing so, he was open to do some illegal things. He asked me also to do some not so legal things, and of course I didn't accept such kind of things. So he was open to do for a good cause, to do bad things for a good cause.
Can you elaborate on that beyond trying to bring in other foreigners to fight for Ukraine? What else was he suggesting, and even suggesting that you do?
Yeah, he suggested something that anyway I couldn't do and I'm not able to do and I don't want to do, to help some people get the transit visa through Romania to Ukraine. But of course, I rejected this without question, without any other word.
Was there anything that he was suggesting that was of a violent nature?
No. That's why he said that he would die. He would die for Ukraine, or he would sacrifice himself for Ukraine. And it's true that there is a risk in Ukraine. Every day is a...
Bro, this is the problem. Liberals don't read like we should nuke Moscow as like an inherently violent statement. That's the problem. That's why they're like, no, he was just like totally non-violent guy. It's like, no, like people who are predisposed with human rights understandably see the wrong that Russia is committing. Okay? Understandably recognize the wrong and the great evil actions of the Russian forces by invading Ukraine, by killing a ton of people. But like when your retaliation is like, yeah, let's nuke Moscow, it's like, okay, but that's an unhinged thing to say. And many people do say it, and I think that's why it's like so normalized in terms of like how commonplace this kind of attitude is. But like automatically when a guy says that, you're like, I don't know if he's like all there.
The risk in Ukraine. There is a saying that it states that you never know if your name is written on the next missile or drone there in Ukraine. But he has no military training. That's why I wonder how he thought that he can shoot someone. I understood that he had a gun because he has no military training. So that's why he he wasn't able to join to the International Legion.
Was he, when he wasn't allowed to join, did he talk to you about that? About how, I mean, was he disappointed? Was he upset? How would you describe him?
In that interview that I did with him in June 2022, he told me that he is unable to join International Legion because he has no military experience, no military skills. So it's in that interview. So I wonder how he thought that he can do something with a weapon. So I don't know details. I don't know how skillful is he, but I suppose he's not so well skilled in this in using a weapon.
What?
Remister, really appreciate your insight.
Bro said lame ass didn't he didn't have the background to be able to successfully pull off this assassination. That's wild. All I'm saying is, in the midst of an ongoing invasion, understand that the Ukrainian military looked at this guy and was like, nah, we're good, dog. Like, they didn't even put him in a civilian position. Like, his contacts with the Foreign Legion are not official. He presented it as such, but it turns out he wasn't even like officially connected to any kind of like civilian liaison officer position within the Foreign Legion. Like, they literally were like, I'm good, man. Overall, I think it's funny that like people are making it seem like he didn't like read as like a total nut job.